All right, here we go. Hey everyone, and welcome to the VGA Podcast. This is episode 25. It's Caleb and Alex back with you again. Welcome, Alex. I don't know about you, but I am super excited to talk about Dune today. How about you?
Oh, very, very excited. And you're the book reader, so we'll have two different perspectives.
Yeah, I'm interested to. I'm interested to see how you liked it versus how I liked it, and if there's any differences. And yeah, that'll be interesting to
I'm
talk about.
interested to know the differences
I
that you've
have
noticed.
6 main differences listed out that we'll probably go into pretty in depth, but
Okay.
we can do
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
definitely most curious about. And
yeah,
also the future of Dune, because I've read some crazy things about the later books.
yeah. I have
So,
too. Yep. So along with Dune Part 2, we're also going to be talking about Dune Part 1, and we'll give our thoughts on that as well. And then we are also going to be talking about Masters of the Air, Episode 7, as well as Halo Season 2, Episode 5. And then we'll also talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Have you seen all of it?
yes, I've seen all of them. Yep.
Okay, I have not seen all of it yet, but I've seen about 3 episodes, I think. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and I'll talk about what I've seen so far.
Yeah, okay.
And then we've also both been playing Final Fantasy VII, or at least I started it. Did you start that today?
I did too. Yep, I just started Rebirth. I've only played a couple hours of Rebirth because I just beat Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll talk about that as well. Sweet. Any preference on what we start on? Do we want to start with Dune,
Um,
or do we want to do our other shows and then talk about Dune?
let's do the other shows because I have a feeling Dune will be a little longer conversation.
Yeah. You want to start with Masters of the Air first?
Yeah. We could go with that. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just. Okay, Masters of the Air. We watched. What episode was it? Episode 7. So I'll go ahead and give my score first on this and talk about it, and then you can give yours, and then we'll get into spoilers.
Okay.
So episode 7, I thought this was another really good episode. Really enjoying the characters. I thought the CGI looked good in this, and there were some cool, like dogfights and some cool CG shots. Pacing was good. It was a good mix of like life at the base, some air combat. Got to see some of the prisoner of war stuff. It did kind of feel like a setup episode, but what they're setting up in the last few episodes is pretty exciting. So I gave this one an 8. Thought it was a solid episode.
Okay. Yeah, I for the most part pretty much agree. I would give it a 7. I think it is a drop off from the last 2 episodes
Yeah.
in a sense of intensity, even writing and story. But I still really enjoyed it. I still think it's above average, and it's not the worst episode. So I'd say a 7 for me. I was teetering on a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna go with the 7, just because I love the last 2 so much. And again, I still think this is a great episode. It's just I enjoyed the last 2 a little bit more.
Yep, I think that's fair. All right, so now we're
So,
going to get into spoilers. So, spoilers for Masters of the Air, episode 7, if you haven't seen it. Just fair warning. But we're going to get into spoilers now.
okay, so for me, the most interesting part of this episode was the stuff with Buck and Bucky
Yeah.
in that base.
Stalag Luft 3.
Yes, just I don't know, it was interesting because it feels different than the rest of the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I just enjoyed the kind of seeing their two sides. Like Bucky is kind of like, we need to move, we need to get out of here now, and then
Yeah.
Buck's more like no, we need to wait. Let's wait. Be more slow about it. And then one of the what was it, the British, like, were digging a tunnel or something for the
Yeah.
last escaped.
Yeah, a bunch of them escaped, huh? Like, I forget how many they
They said
said,
like
but
50 something or 60 or something
or
like
more.
that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then the Germans said that most of them got caught and executed. Do you think they really got caught and executed, or are they just saying that to tell them,
It's very
like,
possible they're just saying that, but they probably did catch some.
yeah. But I was thinking that, I'm like, I don't know if they captured all or most of them. They're probably just saying this to hunker down the base.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so what was Buck doing there, right? He was building a radio transmitter type thing so it could
Yeah.
listen in.
Trying to pick up any news he could get. Yep. Yeah, that was interesting.
Um,
They found his first
mhm.
one that he had, and then he had to like scrounge up some stuff
That's
for
right.
another one.
Someone left like the screw a little out.
Yep.
They hit it in like a hollow leg of what, a table, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What else went on in that storyline? Was that
So
it didn't show that storyline too much, did it?
not
From
too
what I
much. I think a
remember.
lot of what it was, the parts I liked about it was really seeing the relationship between Bucky and Buck. Like,
Mhm.
Buck talks about how he asked his girl to marry him, and like saying like, "Oh, I was
That's
hoping you could
right.
be
Yeah.
my best man," and then later on, Bucky's talking about how he doesn't have anybody back home. And I thought that
Mhm.
those scenes really showed the connection between them, which I mean, we kind of saw, but we didn't really get that good of a look at it. So I think that was interesting to see.
Yeah. Now that you didn't get a good look at it. I feel like, so, they're at the base and they're comfortable and going and going off to battles, and we're focusing on different things. So like now I don't know, they're prisoners, right? Some
Yeah.
time to reflect, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a lot of reflection, especially from Bucky. He was talking about how like anybody he meets now won't know him before all this, and you know,
Hmm.
um, I think Buck says something like that's the person worth knowing or something, the person after. So yeah, there were
Yeah.
some good character moments in there, and also just seeing the base and the way it's being ran, and like it doesn't look like the most fun.
Mhm.
It didn't look as bad as I was
No.
expecting, honestly, but still not fun.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, I guess when we think of like, World War II, we think of like, Auschwitz or something like that kind of
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Which I guess
At
I
least
mean
that's what I think.
it makes sense that the prisoners of war aren't kept like that. I just didn't really think about it. So yeah, that was
Hitler just
interesting.
really hated Jews.
Yes, he did.
um, and then what was the other half of the story?
So it was basically two other parts. There was an air combat mission. It
That's right.
was Rosie's 25th, I believe. So it
Mhm.
would be his last one. And there was something different about this where they had P-51s escorting the bombers, which
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
yeah, it was really cool to see them flying around and like dogfighting, and um
Mhm.
it was a much quicker air combat scene than we had had before, but I mean, that kind of makes sense. They're not going to show the same things over and over. We kind of just got the gist of what happened. But I thought it looked great.
Mhm. Yeah. It wasn't like the battle scenes in this one weren't like detailed and insane like the other ones,
Yeah.
but it looked awesome seeing those. What are they called? The V-51s?
P-51s, I think.
P-51s. Yeah, that was cool to see. And
Yeah.
yeah, Rosie's story, that was an interesting part too, because I was wondering that, all these soldiers love to go home, but I always feel like there's some that will feel empty going home, or like feel
Yeah.
left out in a way
Well, and
that they're
especially
not continuing the war.
like in Rosenthal's place, so he decides to like
Hmm.
re-up, right? And
Hmm.
the guy who he's telling this to, he's like, "Are you sure? You hit the 25, you can go home and just, not worry about it." And Rosie said something like, "I wouldn't feel right going home when, there's the rookies out there just dying over and over
Yeah.
again,
Well, yeah, because
replaced by new rookies, and they're upping the
they're up in their
missions that they
limit
have to
flight.
do.
Yeah, from 25 to 28 and then to 30.
Yep. Yeah, which that
Yeah.
scene when the guy told that, that was a pretty intense scene, and I totally understand the outrage. That's
For sure.
That's pretty messed up. Yeah, but I mean, I
that's
understand
5
why they
more
have to do
missions.
it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you get both sides, but like if I was that soldier too, I'd be
Right.
pissed too.
Yeah,
I'm like 5 more missions. That's not like that's a lot.
25's
See how much you go
already
through
hard to
each
get.
mission.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, 25. 25 missions for episode 25 of the VGA Podcast.
there you go.
But another interesting thing when Rosie was talking to the chief or whoever he was talking to was he was being honest with them. He's like, "Look, our guys are literally just going to be the bait for the new P-51s."
Yeah, that line, and then Rosie still like, "Yes, I'm gonna re-up." That was pretty crazy. Like he's literally telling you you're just gonna be bait, and Rose is like, "Okay, sign me up."
Like realistically, like he's pretty much saying like, "There's a good chance you're not gonna make it."
Right.
At least he was honest with them. Like, "Hey, look, could he tell the whole 100th though?"
No, no way.
That? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
God, just being bait for the dad. So the new and shiny toys are out.
Yep.
I would feel like so. I don't know if I was a soldier, I'd be like, "Oh, so like you're just replacing me with something new and shiny." Where like what we did didn't do anything. That's what it'd feel like to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. I mean,
even the narrator, what's his face, Crosby. He's narrating. He's like, yeah, he's like, we've gotten to the point of the war where we know that these bombings aren't doing enough.
Yep.
Like he even says that in the narration. Like, dang.
Yeah, it definitely makes strategic sense. Like they want to wipe out all the planes, and the best way to do that is to get them in the air where they can, fight them with better fighters. But yeah, as one of the bombing crew, I'd be like, well, that's pretty awful. And I'm just gonna have to sit there and take it, basically.
I'll be honest with that. I'm excited to see it though.
Yeah, true.
The T-51s.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen them, but I'm excited to see them like in actual combat.
Yep.
Because those things are fast.
They were fast, yeah.
And then that third storyline, Cross kind of had his own little thing going.
Yep. Yeah, so I think
girl again, right?
Yeah, he was narrating and saying how the everybody at the base needs like a distraction or something, and then it cuts to him and he had called Sandra and they're having a little bit of a fling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting. I mean, he's married, but it also makes sense that he needs a distraction. He needs some kind of human connection in this horrible war. So I can understand why he would do that.
I don't know. That's such like that's such a weird, because I was thinking that too. I'm like, God, he's married. What are you doing, man? And then I'm like, but like when you see so much chaos like that, it's just like I don't fault him in a sense.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, you're married, man.
Yeah.
Like, but that's just the conflict in me.
Yeah. And I liked her line when there was he said, Crosby says like, "Oh yeah, I've been really busy," and she's like, "I know." Like she has some like top secret intel that she's like keeping eyes on his
yeah, and then what did she say? She's like, "Why are you worried about what I'm doing in the past when you should be worrying about what I'm doing in 20 minutes?"
Yeah.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's good.
That was pretty funny. His face after that was funny.
One thing I hope they show with him though, like I do wonder if they're going to explore more with him in the sense of like if he does make it home and then like he goes back to his wife and all that, or if like he's going to show some remorse.
Yeah.
The war's over. I don't know. I wonder or maybe they won't go that deep into it, but I'm curious.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to
what
see if
he's
they.
thinking.
Yeah,
You know.
it is mostly from like he's narrating. It's not his point of view necessarily, but I mean, I think we get a lot of the stuff from Crosby's memoirs, so it'll be interesting to see if they do anything with that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that another thing I did like you kind of already mentioned it when they're having that celebration for Rosie and his crew for the 25th mission.
Yeah,
That guy getting mad. I thought that I know we mentioned it earlier, but I really liked that scene. Like that was pretty intense, and
yeah,
like I felt bad for like the new recruits and stuff. I'm
I
like, oh
know.
dang.
Seriously,
Like they're excited that like someone's made it out, right? Like you're alive. You don't want your comrades to die, but then you're
right?
pissed because you get to get out at 25 and I have to go to 30. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a tough situation to be in for sure, and especially because there's only been like 2 of these parties. Like it doesn't happen very often.
Mhm.
Uh,
What if I the dates? What were the dates in this episode? It was like March of 1943, I think.
I don't remember exactly.
I think it said March 1943. When did the war end? In 45 or 44?
Um,
I think it's 45.
several. Yeah, March 1944.
Is when World War II ended.
That's when this episode was.
Oh, it was in 1944.
Yeah, and it ended September 2nd, 1945.
Oh, and World War II ended in, let's see, I don't remember. I
It's
haven't taken history.
it's in
1945.
yeah, 45. Yep.
Wait, and this episode ended, like, what was the date this episode ended? Do you know?
40 it was March of 44, I believe.
Oh, so they're only, what,
They're a
March, April,
year and a half out, yeah.
40, what did you say? Wait, 44 or 43?
44.
Okay, so they are like a year and a half out to the end of the war.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, are these two gonna try and escape, Buck and Bucky? Because I mean,
I don't know.
Buck definitely, this episode seemed like he's fine to just wait out the war and get home.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
But,
After that whole thing with the British and the cap, them saying like,
yeah. Yep.
but I don't know. I wonder if they're gonna try to escape or if they're gonna like if they're gonna get rescued. I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah, because they did get word that another camp had been rescued. Oh, and that was another thing I wanted to bring up. Those 2 guys we followed earlier were in that camp. They got home.
Yep.
The guys who fell in Belgium.
That's right. Because we didn't see them for a couple episodes, huh?
Yeah, and like I almost missed it. I had to go back and like, wait, were those the 2 guys? Like, it was not very. Like, it was not a center point of this episode. It was like a very throwaway. They made it back.
It was like a minute-long scene. Oh, boosted morale in the camp, kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for like a minute, and then it was never talked about again.
Yeah, it was good to see, but also I was surprised. I was expecting to see more of their escape. But
I was too, because that was focused on a few episodes ago.
Yeah. And at that point, they mentioned that anybody who's been captured and manages to escape can't go back, because if they go back, they'll have too much information about how they escaped the first time, which I thought was interesting. Like who?
Yeah, that was interesting, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So is it more so for British helping them, or whoever was helping them, than for her?
Yeah, for the Belgian people who helped them get out. Yeah, the spies and the underground.
Yeah, it was good. No, like it was a solid episode. Like I liked it. For me, it just the intensity wasn't there, and the writing and the more of like I don't know the writing with the characters in the last couple episodes, or especially the last episode, just felt like a little deeper.
Yeah.
Like this one just felt more like a face value, like a good episode, but nothing like deep.
Yeah, it definitely felt like kind of a in between big episodes, setting up stuff,
Yeah,
setup
yeah.
episode. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, overall, I'm still digging it, and I hope. I mean, we got what, 3 more episodes?
Is it 3? I've seen things that say it might only be 9 episodes.
I thought it said 10. I'm pretty sure it's 10. Gonna be 10, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, 9. There are 9 episodes.
Really? Why'd I read 10? Oh, interesting. Okay.
Band
So
of
2
Brothers
more
has
episodes.
10, and so does the Pacific. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why.
Okay.
Which means there's
Uh,
only 2 more episodes. Yeah, wow.
yeah. Wow. Huh.
So I wonder
2
if they're
episodes
gonna.
left.
I wonder how much of a time jump ahead they're gonna go. If we're getting to the end of
Yeah.
the war in a year and a half.
Wow, I didn't know there's only 2 episodes. I was like fully expecting 3 more episodes, and now only 2.
Yeah,
Interesting.
sorry to pull that out from under you.
No,
I guess better to
no,
know
I'm just
now than
trying
when
to
you're
figure out.
watching episode 9 and you're like, wait, is that the end?
I know. It's a good thing you told me, actually.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know how they're going to wrap it up in 2 episodes. I
Yeah.
thought I had 3 episodes to wrap it up. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll find out.
Yep.
But yeah, I got nothing else on this. I enjoyed it. Can't wait for next week.
Same.
And hopefully we don't fumble it in the last 2 episodes.
So far, I think I have I believe in them.
Yeah, no, I do too. We'll see. But a lot of shows are solid, and I feel like the ending. Oh, it's hard to get endings right in the show, but this
That's
is based
true.
off. This is based off a true event, so.
Yeah.
But
All right.
anywho, all right. What else do we have?
Let's move on to Halo Season 2.
Oh, yes, Halo. What episode is it?
So this was
5?
episode 5.
Episode. Oh, okay. I'm curious. I'm curious on your thoughts on this one. Want me to go first on this one?
Yeah.
All right, Halo Season 2, Episode 5. Thoughts, my score. So I thought, actually, surprisingly, I thought this episode was going to be worse. We were talking about it last week, how it could be a full Quan episode,
Yep.
and it could be like Season 1's full Quan episode after an awesome episode. I still don't think it was an amazing episode, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it was a very average episode. I didn't necessarily like anything particular. Like, I didn't think it was like, nothing stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess no spoilers, but there was a moment where some characters make decisions, which I thought makes sense considering where I think they're gonna have Master Chief in Season 3 go.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought it was a pretty average episode. I was between a 5 and a 6. I'd probably give it a 5. I think it's the definition of average. So 5. Not bad, not great. It could have been worse. I thought it was going to be worse.
Yep.
But for like an aftermath of Reach, I will say I'm a little disappointed. But it was okay. So I'd say 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I was between a 5 and a 6. I ended up going with a 6. And I'll talk about why. There was basically one scene that just bumped it just a little bit above average, but yeah, for the most part of the episode, it was pretty average, and there were some parts that I really didn't care about. There were some parts that were interesting, and I'm curious where they're going. But yeah, the pacing definitely slowed down quite a bit after Reach.
What I didn't care for too is like it didn't necessarily even focus on like the fall of Reach. It focused on certain characters but didn't focus on, like, I don't know, it felt like it should have been more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a tragedy, like.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like that. You lost all of Reach. And it's like no one's like, I don't know. But sorry to interrupt. Keep
No,
going.
you're good. That was pretty much all I really had to say before spoilers. Pretty average episode. I think it had one really good scene that bumped it just a little bit above average, but the rest of it was pretty average. So that's why I went with the SIGs.
Yeah. All right, let's get into spoilers. So,
Yes.
spoiler alert. So,
Right.
if you don't want to hear spoilers, go watch the episode, come
Yep.
back, and
Halo.
listen to us rants and praise and all the above.
So, spoilers for Halo Season 2, Episode 5. Okay.
So the first thing I want to say is, so they focused on tragedy in the sense of Vanek and
Yep.
and like certain characters, but no one like talked about the granularity of what just happened. Like there's no plan. The first thing they did is go to find what's his face's son, which I get. I would do that if I was my son.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
shouldn't there have been like, okay, let's all gather together. We need to figure out what the next move is. I don't know. It just felt very like the world got destroyed and like you're going on a side mission to save his son.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say to kind of defend that a little bit is Halsey did mention that it was a strategic defeat by Ackerson, and like it seems like they're the ones more in control of figuring out what to do next, whereas who we're following, Master Chief and Halsey, they're more kind of just on their own. Like, what do they do?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I see what you're saying though. The impact of Reach falling should have been more of a center point, and like what do we do? How does humanity, move forward and continue surviving? And yeah, they definitely glossed over that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. I get what you're saying, and I agree with that. Maybe not planning the next steps, but just understanding the granularity of what just like a whole world just got shattered.
Yeah,
or it's going to get shattered.
Like, and I think the best way to put it for how I feel about it is like last episode, it seemed like such an impactful thing just happened, and then this episode like kind of lost some of that, where it didn't seem like that big of a deal, or like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I thought I thought this episode was still going to be on Reach. To be honest, I didn't think they're going to get off Reach that quickly.
Yeah, it got off pretty quick.
I thought like Reach. Yeah, I thought Reach was going to be like a multiple episode thing. Although I was reading in the books, or doesn't it take Reach a few days to like glass?
Yeah.
So couldn't they technically go back or something?
They could. I don't expect them to, honestly, but they could.
There's nothing to go back, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Unless there's like some hidden armor or something that what's her face mentions. But
the Mark V, yeah.
I know. I was hoping, man. I was hoping those theories would be right.
Halsey may have it stashed somewhere. They still could do that.
So another thing I did like, what's the Spartan's name? The one that got injured.
Riz.
So I actually don't mind her storyline in the sense of like kind of what I mentioned before spoilers. It makes sense she's not going to keep continuing with Chief, because they have to make Chief alone once it gets to Halo, right?
It's definitely looking like they're moving that route. Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, like Bennett's dead, she's staying. Kai's doing her own thing with what's his face
with Ackerson.
So, I like her story. They already set it up for a few episodes that she wants a peaceful life, and she's got super injured. I didn't like her running back out to Vanek. I thought that was dumb. And I get what she's trying to say, right? Spartans don't leave anyone behind. But then 2 seconds or like 10 minutes later, the chief said that the bodies don't, like, once they're dead, your bodies don't matter.
Yeah.
So like I didn't understand that. The chief is preaching that the bodies don't matter once you're dead. It's just a body. But then she goes out and does, or like, why? I guess it's more so in the writing, not the character. Why didn't they just write them dragging him up while the ship's coming and then she gets shot?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little bit
You know what I'm
silly.
saying? Like it felt silly. They could have written it better where they just grab Chief, they grab Vanek, and they're all dragging to the ship, and then she gets like shot bad or something. Instead of her doing something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah,
that bothered me a little bit, just because it just felt silly. Yeah. I guess you're right. That's the word I'm looking for.
Before that part, though, was probably my favorite part of the episode, was like when they're in that hallway and the brute comes down, seeing them fight a brute. I thought that was a
Yeah.
really cool action
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, and then Juan comes and ruins it. Or sorry, saves the day.
Oh yeah, saves the day. But yeah, I like that fight. That's what brought it up to a 6 to me. Was it was really cool seeing a brute.
It was cool seeing a brute. I just wish we saw more of the brute.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why I said Quan ruined it, because I could have saw more of the brute. But dude, they're trying so hard to make us like Quan. So hard.
I know.
Instead of making her annoying and wrong, they're just making her annoying and right about everything.
One question I had was, how the heck did they find, how did Lara find them in that building on Reach? I have no idea. Like that was
is there is that like, I wish they would. Yeah, you're right. Did they have like a secret thing? Like, if I ever go missing on Reach, meet me here.
I doubt it. That was not hinted at all.
I mean, I guess that's like the headquarters of evacuation. So maybe they just she. But does she know that though?
I don't know how she would.
Have you ever been to Reach?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Seemed
she's
like
a made-up character, isn't she? She's not in books or anything.
No, yeah, she's new, I believe.
So like, yeah, that's true. I don't think she's ever been on, or at least not that we know of.
It just kind of seemed like a Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, yep, we're here to save you kind of thing.
Yeah. See, but like that's exactly what you mentioned. Like last episode, everything felt so tight and so intense, and so everything felt like it mattered, and it made sense. And this episode, like, this is in the first 5 minutes. We've been talking about the first 5 minutes. 3 things didn't make sense, or 2 things didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it was still cool seeing the brute.
Yeah.
And at least we didn't get a full Quan episode. I'd rather just them quicken it and Quan and them meet up with Chief and them instantly.
That's true. I did have some issues with Quan in this episode, so we could talk about that now if you want.
Yeah, you could go ahead. What were your issues?
My main issue was that, like, there's no reason that she needed to bury Vanek, and she was so insistent about her being the one. Like, I understand that
she didn't know him.
No, they never met. So, but like the thing was, she was trying to use him as like a proxy for her family and being able to bury her family. But like, yeah, she never met this guy, and she's like pushing so hard for Chief to help bury him, and then when he doesn't, she gets all annoyed, and it's just like, why do you care? Like, just, and then she does it, and the people get upset saying you can't bury him on, for whatever reason, and she still is trying and fighting. It was just annoying.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I feel like it's the characters trying to make us like her. Like, oh, she cares about Vanek, she wants to bury the dead, like that's what humans do, we can relate. Like, Chief, come on, you should be caring about this. Like, I just feel like it's the writers, like, forcing us to like her.
Yeah. And then she had that vision of that lady from that other planet that got glassed, which I don't know.
Are they? I read some theories. Are they trying to set her up with like some Forerunner crap?
I read that too. Like that lady was a Forerunner or descendant or something. And I mean, the stuff with her family and the well on Madrigal kind of seems like she has some connection to the Forerunner, like Master Chief does. Oh, God. Yeah. So
what's that creature called? Well, this is not with her, but with Maki. What's that creature called in Halo 3?
The Grave Mind.
People are kind of saying that she could become the Grave Mind.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that.
Well, I've just read theories, and this doesn't even pertain to the episode, but just got me thinking.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe. That would be interesting. I don't know how I'd feel about that, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I would either. But anyways, it's just anything with Juan Soren, is that his name?
Soren, yeah.
Soren, is he a made up Spartan too, or is he in the books or comics or anything?
I think he's made up for the show, but I'm not sure.
I think I read he's made up for the show too. So theoretically, he's made up Juan's made up, and the wife is made up. I don't remember her name.
Lara, yeah.
And they're focusing Lara, and they're focusing so much on those three.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even get to see Perez or what happened with them.
Yeah, really. I did not care about the Soren finding his son. Literally every time it went to that, I was just like, why did Quan put him on that stupid ship? I just got mad at Quan.
Oh my god. Oh yes. Like all this trouble because Quan couldn't just bring him on the ship with her and say, wait here for a minute.
Yeah.
So stupid. You should be blaming Quan.
Yeah. The thing that kind of saved it could maybe make it more interesting to me, is the fact that he did get taken by the UNSC, and I wonder what they're going to do with it. I mean, a son of a Spartan, that might be something that they use later on, which could be interesting.
It's interesting in theory.
Yeah, we'll see how they do it.
It's just the writers forcing these characters into the story still.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point in them being in the story.
Yep, true.
So in theory, that could be cool, but I don't have faith that storyline's going to be interesting at all, because I don't give a crap what happens to that kid or them. I really don't. I like Soren, whatever his name is.
Soren.
I like Soren, like it's freaking Lord of the Rings. I like Soren. I do like him as a character, but I don't care about his wife. I don't care about his kid. I don't have any connection. I have kids, and I felt nothing about these people's relationship, like this family dynamic. Nothing.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel like it should be in a Halo show. I don't know.
No, like not at all. Like I felt more for Perez and her family. And we saw Perez's family like once or twice.
Yeah.
Like, and I felt more bad for Perez. But man, she I know I mentioned it, but man, she acted so good in that last episode that it made it so believable.
Yeah, agreed.
What else happened in this episode? There's a lot of just, they buried Danik, and Chief made his little speech.
Yeah.
That he's gonna avenge him.
I think
the little weird vision.
Yeah, the weird vision thing. I think the two other scenes that I think are important to talk about are, we did get to see the beginning of the Spartan 3s, which Ackerson is doing on Onyx, which is pretty cool. The Ghosts of Onyx book was really good. And Kai is helping him out, which we got to see, which we talked about before, but we hadn't really seen yet. And then the McKee scene with the Arbiter and Cortana.
Yes, that's right.
So it seems like the Arbiter is now kind of stepping away from the Covenant and going on his own way to go find the Halo ring, because Cortana showed that vision of the Halo ring.
That's right, because he was going to go back to
High Charity.
High Charity, and Maki is like, no, don't. You know what they're going to do.
Yeah. And
she's trying to convince him, and then Cortana puts up that vision of Halo, or he thinks it's a vision of Halo.
Yeah. And one thing I saw was that people are theorizing that because we saw some of Parangosky, and like how she was involved in the removal of Cortana. I don't remember if that was that this episode? I think it might have been.
The removal of Cortana?
Yeah, we saw like Chief on the operating table, and it was kind of hinted that was when Cortana was being removed from him. And he says that it was Parangosky. I think that was this episode. Maybe the last one. I don't know. But I saw some people theorizing that Parangosky is the reason that Cortana was left, and that she's using Cortana to kind of bait the Covenant into either maybe showing them the way to Halo, or like baiting them to Onyx so they can fight with their new Spartan 3s.
Interesting.
Like, we were talking about, why the heck would they leave Cortana? Well, if they're using Cortana to bait them somewhere, that makes a little more sense.
Oh, that would make sense, because then if the Covenant does reach like Halo, they would know.
Yeah, they would know where it is. Yeah, or they could be like, or even just
spying on the Covenant.
Yeah, or Cortana could be giving, like, maybe she gives them the wrong coordinates and it sends them to Onyx, where they're waiting with a bunch of, Spartan 3s, and they attack or something. Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Realistically, like, even if Cortana's just kind of like an inside spy and just goes, does everything they say, and then she could somehow get information back, or if she ever gets back. Yeah, that is actually interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that could
So
be
does she
cool
have a
setup.
tracking device on her?
I don't know. Or does she have a way to like delete herself if it goes wrong, or a way for them to
Or
find
does
her?
she have a way
Yeah.
to like send them information
Yeah, I don't know.
via a computer or something?
I would hope so if they're making that bet, but
she could be studying the Covenant ships and the Covenant everything.
yeah.
That is an interesting theory, actually. One thing, back to the back to Kai and them. Do you think they're gonna? So there's two things. Are they pitting her and John against each other, or are they more so gonna be like, we're working together, but you're following us, kind of thing? Like, I'm the leader of this people, you do your own thing.
I think in the immediate time frame, they're pitting them against each other, but there'll probably come a time where they'll have to work together and get over like.
So she's supposed to be like, is she supposed to be Locke? Is she kind of replacing Locke?
I don't think so. I think she's replacing a Spartan called, I think his name is Kurt in the books, and he is one of the Spartans that trains the Spartan 3s. I think Locke was the Spartan 4s.
So he's later down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, Locke is a Spartan 4.
I wonder if he'll ever show up in the show.
Yeah, I mean, they could use the actor that they literally used in the game.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So, yeah, that would be cool.
Interesting. So we have, with this, I believe there's only 8 episodes, right? Am I correct on this one?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So we have 3, 8, 5, so we have 3 more episodes. Okay.
Yes, 8 episodes.
Okay. So 3 more episodes. We already passed the Fall of Rage. I'm going to give season 2 the benefit of the doubt that this is going to be the lowest point of the season, and we'll pick right back up and we'll finish strong. This is their one chance for me. Like, it's not a bad episode. It was definitely the lowest point for me in the sense of after being on such a high. I'm probably putting it lower because I was on such a high the last episode, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving them this episode. It wasn't bad. It was okay. But if the quality of the next 3 are like this one, then the season will fall down in ratings for me.
Yeah. Next episode is the same director as this one, but it is a different writer. So we'll see.
Okay. That's so odd to me. So do they have a different writer and director every episode?
Mostly. So
like, I get that for like shows like CSI and stuff, but a show like this, really?
Every 2 there's a different director, and then there's a different writer.
Director's fine.
Yeah, there's a different writer for every episode except for 1 and 8 have the same writer.
So the first episode and the last episode.
Yeah.
And they have different writers for every episode. That's odd to me.
Yeah.
That's not common, right? In a show like this.
I don't know. I haven't really paid that much attention.
I mean, you have shows, like Game of Thrones, who the writers were for that, right? Or are they all different? That's, I'm going to look into that. I guess I've never really paid attention to that either.
Yeah, I'm looking at Masters of the Air to see. They're all written by John Orloff. So, yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that's, like I said, maybe for like shows like, I don't know, like Supernatural and those kind of shows. But like for just actual scripted, like 8 episode continuous show, that's odd to me. Yeah, because you think about Stranger Things is all written by the Duffer brothers.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is all written by those 2 guys. I don't remember their names.
Monarch Legacy of Monsters does have different writers for most of the episodes, so I guess it does.
This depends, I guess.
Yeah, like the main writer will be on the big ones. It looks like, because this one Chris Black wrote 3 of the episodes, like the first 2.
I'll say this: you could definitely tell the difference though with shows with writer and multiple writers, because some episodes and Monarch felt different.
Yeah.
I remember us mentioning that, those few middle episodes.
Yep. Definitely.
And Masters of the Air, I could see that being the same directors or writers because it feels consistent.
Yeah. Consistency is a good term for that. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll see. But yeah, so I'm still digging it. Low point for me, but it's still a great sci-fi show.
I think still better than season 1, even though it was not the best of this season. But yeah,
they got to really fumble 3 episodes for it to be on season 1 level.
Yeah,
and still no Master Cheeks, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
Oh, but when is he going to get his armor back? Or is he not going to get his armor till the finale?
I don't know. I hope not. I'll say that.
I hope not either. And I'm not necessarily bothered by him not having armor, but it also doesn't mean I don't want to see him in his armor.
Right. I kind of hope that he'll realize like how vulnerable he is without his armor, and then once he gets it back, he like won't take it off as much, maybe.
That would be pretty cool, actually. Like if he gets his butt beat these next couple episodes, and then he gets his armor back in the finale, and then for the rest of the series, like we hardly ever see him with the helmet off.
Yeah.
That would be a great like transition and like a fix.
Yeah, basically be like the season 2 showrunners being like, yeah, we realized it's dumb, and so did he.
Yeah. But at least like with this season, they're making it make a little sense.
Yeah.
And like now, if he did keep his helmet on 24/7, we would know who's underneath. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, true.
So I get what they're trying to go for, but like I still want him to have his helmet on.
Yeah.
But sweet.
All right. Well, I think that's all I had for Halo.
Yeah, same.
Okay, we want to move on to Dune.
Let's do Avatar first.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Avatar.
Yeah. I'll let you go first since you've only seen the first 3 episodes?
Yeah, I think we finished 3. Either that or I'm on 3 right now.
Is your wife watching it too?
Yeah, that's why it's taken so long, is because she cannot watch stuff. She's ADHD, so she's it's hard to get her to sit still and watch it for a while, but so far I've been really enjoying it. It's obviously not the cartoon. There's some differences, but I think the casting's been pretty good. I've enjoyed the writing. There hasn't been too many differences, just little things here and there. But it's really cool to see it in live action, and I feel like they've made the bending look really cool.
They did make it look cool.
Yeah, so I've been really enjoying it. But
that's right. You never saw the movie, right?
No.
So you've never had the joy of seeing this show, the original show in live action yet. Right. This is kind of your first time seeing it live action.
It is. I'm very glad I waited.
I was just saying, to be fair, this is pretty much my first time seeing it live action too.
True.
But overall, you're enjoying it. Like,
yeah,
I've seen some people complain, like, "Oh, this isn't the show. It's not as funny, and it's not as this and that."
Yeah, both me and my wife, I mean, we're both really big Avatar fans, and yeah, we've both been enjoying it so far. Yeah. So I watched the whole series. I'm done with it. Okay.
And I freaking loved it. Like, I didn't just like it, I loved it.
Nice.
Like, if I had to give the whole season if I gave the season as a whole a score, it'd be an 8 out of 10. I thought it was nice. Better than average. Like, I would almost even give it, I could give it a 9, just because for me, there was no big faults. Like, I watched it with my kids too, and we would watch a couple episodes at a time. Not one time was I bored. Not one time was I like, oh, that's weird, or that's dumb. Like, I just enjoyed it. It was just a fun show to watch. I don't know if I just shut off my brain or what, but like, I didn't have a lot of issues with the show, like glaring issues. And I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
And the actor who plays Zuko was perfect for Zuko.
Yeah, Zuko's really good. I thought all of them were. Too. Yeah, Sokka's great. Yeah. I like Aang.
I would say the weakest one for me is Katara.
Yeah, for the main cast, yeah.
for the main cast, yeah. And she was. It's not that she was bad. Uh, I don't know. Her acting just wasn't on par, and also her character to me felt the most different
Yeah, she seems a
than the
little bit
show.
more like, I don't know if bland's the right word, or maybe she just doesn't sound like
Yeah,
Katara to me. I don't know. Like with Sokka,
yeah,
he kind of sounds like Sokka and
yeah.
looks
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of like Sokka, but she does look like Katara, but like I don't know, she doesn't really sound like her to me. And that's a small
Yeah.
nitpick. She's still a decent Katara, but yeah, I would say she's probably the weakest of the main three, or the main
Yeah, and
characters.
again, it wasn't enough to bother me. And I keep reading people, oh, this isn't the show. The show's so much better. Well, no shit. Duh.
Yeah, of course.
Point that out. The original is always going to be better. I don't care what no one says. It's cartoon. It's a cartoon compared to live action. It's not going to be the same. Just there's nothing wrong with seeing someone do their artistic version of it while being faithful to it. It's going to be a little different. It's a cartoon going to live action. It's not going to be identical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can go enjoy the original, and you could still enjoy this, like
Yeah,
for
I
what it is.
agree. Hmm.
And I thought the budget, like this, felt epic. Like the budget was excellent. I mean, even that first episode you saw with the battle. I'm not gonna say which one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it
I
looked
continue.
amazing.
Episode 5. I remember episode 5 specifically because it scared my kids a little bit, and it's. I'm gonna see if you can guess what it. What do you think would scare my kids
I'm trying to
with
remember the
the
first season.
first season? It was. They did it very creepy too. It was a little freaky. I was like,
Uh,
oh, maybe I should watch this episode.
it's been too long since I've seen it. Um, is it Azula using the lightning? No.
No, think of like it's more of like a monster.
I remember the water monster.
So there's
I don't
it's.
remember.
Do you remember when they go into the spirit world?
Yeah. Which
There's
Oh, I think I do
there's that
remember.
spirit that like takes over faces or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot about that.
They did that freaking creepy in this show.
Nice.
It was episode 5. You'll know because they got they go to spirit world and like it's. I was like, oh. I mean, my kids didn't get scared, but like I was like, should they be watching this? There's a couple times where I was like that. Like I feel like this show's like you can watch with the family, but there's certain parts you're like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, the face stealer. Yep. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that I do remember that. That I'm excited to see that in live action.
yeah. Episode 5. It was a pretty creepy episode. It was interesting.
Okay. Nice.
Um, but yeah, yeah. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9. Great first season. I hope they continue it. No glaring issues. Sure, little things here and there, like we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
But overall, dude, it was fun. It looked good. The budget was there. The bending looks great, which you could easily get wrong.
Yeah.
The acting and cast art look like everything in the show looks authentic, so no one could complain it doesn't look authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I liked it, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep watching it because we both really enjoyed it, and there's not a lot of shows that me and my wife can both watch.
Mhm.
She doesn't
I know
watch
it's funny.
anything.
I know. Kara doesn't watch Avatar. She doesn't like Avatar.
I'm glad your kids are
Um,
liking it though. That's really cool.
oh, they love it, and Avia loves Katara. She wants to be a
Nice.
waterbender.
Nice. That's
It's so
awesome.
funny because now I'll see her like when Katara starts doing like the water bending, like Avia, my daughter, she'll get up and start moving her hands like her.
That's awesome.
So she loves Katara. Uh, she wants to be a waterbender.
Very
Which I want to
nice.
ask you this: what would you be? I think airbending would be the coolest.
Yeah,
You could control pretty much anything.
me and my wife have talked about this. I kind of agree that airbending would be the coolest, but she thinks I'd be an earthbender. And I kind of agree.
I mean, my personality definitely isn't like an airbender. I'll say that.
But yeah.
But like, I think airbending would be cool. You could I mean, you basically control it. You could fly. You could move
Yeah,
objects.
you'd basically have like telekinesis, but just like using
Yeah,
the air.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Although I
dude,
was thinking, like, if you want to get dark, you could. If you're a waterbender, you could really like just disintegrate people, can't you?
you can blood
You know,
bend
like
them in
dark.
the. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I
like
see what you're saying. There's an
you can pretty much
even
control anybody.
there's an even stronger argument for airbending, but you need to finish Korra, so we'll talk about that after you finish
Well,
Korra.
that's what I was just gonna say. We finished Avatar a few nights ago, and we're in an Avatar. Me and my kids are, and so we started Korra, and they're
Nice.
loving Korra.
Nice.
Which obviously it's like a cartoon, so it's like, you know, kids and cartoons, like
Yeah.
they're even more. Because I only watched book one of Korra years and years, parts of book two.
Yeah, book
So I've never
two's
finished Korra. I have no. What's that?
book two
Book two's
I
what?
feel is the weakest. But book
Really?
three and
Okay.
book four are really good. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've never heard spoilers. I know nothing about that show
Nice.
except for what I've seen.
I'm jealous.
Uh, so we're on like episode 5 of book one, or chapter 5 of book one.
Okay.
And, but yeah, I'm excited because like it's a show I could watch with my kids, and then we'll
Yeah.
probably go back after this. We'll probably go back and watch the original Avatar, the cartoon,
Cool.
and then we'll watch the movie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to put the
I think that's child abuse.
Yeah, seriously. I'm telling you, that movie was so bad. I actually went. It was on like it's on one of the streaming. I don't remember. So I couldn't sleep one night, and I turned it on. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna see if it was as bad as I remember. Oh my god, I couldn't finish it. It's that bad.
I
It
should
was so boring and laughable.
I should probably at least try it once, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
try it. It's good work.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it's a great show. I'm happy with it. I hope it gets renewed for season 2.
Yeah.
Because I
Me
would
too.
love to see book 2 and 3 in live action.
I
Because that we
agree.
never got.
Yeah. That'll
Because
be
the movie
really
was
cool.
only book 1, so we've never seen. It's kind of like Percy Jackson, right? We've seen like a couple books of live action, but like we've never seen it fully.
Yep.
And I wonder if they'll ever do for a live action. Because believe it or not, like I actually think maybe I need to think about it more, but I think Korra could be better suited for live action than the original Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Because Korra has that like noir, like at least the first book has that noir city, like
Yeah.
water or bending tournament and
I kind of
city.
agree that it could be. Yeah. Especially because
You gotta
like
finish the show.
yeah, the city stuff and the lore and looking back at like Aang and stuff, that would be cool to see in live action. And some of the bending,
Yeah.
like it obviously ups the bending a little bit in Korra too. So seeing that would be cool.
Yeah, there's like metal bending
Mm-hmm.
and like lightning, and then I think the villain again. I don't remember it, so I don't know if it's true or not. But like the villain right now, they say they can erase
Oh
bending
yeah.
your bending permanently. So the villain's kind of cool in this first book. I don't know. I think Korra. I know they're everyone like the Last Airbender is always gonna be everyone's favorite, but I don't know. This Korra so far is fun. I like it. I like the lore.
I definitely liked
And the history
Korra.
of Last Airbender.
Say that again?
And you have the history of like
Mhm.
the Last Airbender characters and stuff. So it's like, I guess that enhances it.
Yeah. I definitely liked Korra. It definitely wasn't as good as Avatar, but I still really enjoyed
Oh,
it.
no.
Yeah.
From what I was reading, and even so far, the core characters of like Avatar, the Last Airbender, you can't beat like Sokka and Toph and all of them. You can't beat those characters and
Yeah.
Zuko. Yeah, but still though, I'm enjoying it. It made me want to like keep watching things in this universe. So it gave me a reason to watch the Netflix show. Gave me a reason to watch Korra.
Yeah, maybe on my own time
Yeah, I'm
when
sure.
we're not watching the live action, I'll rewatch Korra so I can
Yeah.
remember what you're talking
Yeah, I
about.
remember things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. They're quick.
Yeah.
I have a feeling after we watch this, Cora will probably be Avia's favorite.
Yeah, I could believe that.
but anyways, I guess just whenever you finish it, I want to see your updated thoughts on the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll definitely
Did you
revisit it.
Boomy yet or no?
Not yet. I think the next episode is where we're going to meet Boomy.
Okay.
I did see some Azula, and Azula's done pretty well from what I've seen so far, so that's good. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Yep. I think you'll enjoy the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, just update me when you're done, and we'll get your thoughts on the rest. And then maybe if it is renewed next year, it's just hard to talk about episode by episode with the show like this because it's like on Netflix, it's released all at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all good. We could talk about it as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Initial thoughts of the first episode and then talk about it again when we finish it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's all I got on this.
All right.
So now we got Dune.
Yeah, let's talk about Dune. So we'll talk about how do we want to do this. I think we should do the book differences kind of at the end.
Yeah. The difference at the end, and also I want to discuss like the future of it at the end.
Yeah.
Which we could put that part of spoilers in case people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to give some background, I read the book and literally finished the book 2 hours before I saw part 2. I actually hadn't seen yeah, literally 2 hours. I finished it and then 2 hours later went and saw the movie.
Wait, did you watch part 1 on Saturday, like before you finished the book?
Yeah, because part 1's only the first half of the book, so I read enough into the book that I knew.
You had already... Yeah, that makes sense. And then you finished the book and then 2 hours later saw the movie.
Yep. It was, honestly, that's the closest I've ever been to like finishing a book and then seeing the movie, and it was a really interesting experience. I really enjoyed it.
It was fresh.
Yeah, it was super fresh.
All right, well, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about part 1 first, part 2 first, combined? Like, how do you want to do it?
I don't know. What would be the best way? I guess
let's at least give us our initial, like, our thoughts of part 1.
Okay.
It doesn't need to go in depth, just our thoughts.
Yeah. I really liked part 1. I think I would give part 1 a 9. I haven't really thought about it as much as part 2, but I think I'd give it a 9. Like, this type of sci-fi is so right up my alley. Like, and the director who did it with the visuals and the music and the sound. Yeah, Denis, or how I've heard
the sound is awesome.
Yeah, the sound design was great. I loved the first part. And the first part, just to touch on it a little bit, I won't go into spoilers, but the first part really followed the book. There were a few scenes left out, but obviously you're going to have to do that in the movie. But like part 1 was very close to the book. And I really liked it.
Okay. So for me, never read the books. I love part 1 too. I would give part 1 an 8 out of 10. And I wonder if it's the difference is the not reading the book. But I enjoyed part 1. It felt like an incomplete story because obviously it wasn't complete.
Yeah.
It was a little slower, and I will say I was a little more confused in part 1 than I was in part 2.
That's one thing I wanted to hear. Yeah, if you got confused at all. Yeah.
In part 2, I wasn't as confused. I started piecing things together. I feel like they started explaining some of the lore. But in part 1, I was definitely confused.
Yeah,
maybe that's just me being slow. I don't know.
I think they definitely made a lot more changes from the book in part 2, and I think it was because of that, to make it a little bit more easier to understand for people who haven't read the books. There's some other reasons that we'll get into, but yeah.
Yeah, I was a little confused, but that being said, part 1 felt like such a different movie than part 2. Like, it really did.
Yeah.
Like, part 1 was more I don't know, how would you explain it, like, without getting into spoilers? There wasn't a lot of action, but there was a lot of, like, tragedy. Like, it was kind of
Yeah, tragedy and setup. Like, there's a ton of
Mhm.
like, the whole thing is a story about setup from like
Yeah.
religions setting up these like prophecies and like setting up genes from different races to create the like
Mhm.
certain kind of person. So yeah, the first movie I think reflected that a lot, where they're setting up a lot of things.
But I liked his who played his father, oh, what's his face?
Oscar Isaac playing
Plays
Leto. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked him, and I liked, well, we'll talk about it in part 2. But yeah, like, we don't need to even get in spoilers in part 1. I just wanted the initial thoughts, unless you want to.
I'm. I think we can focus more on part 2.
Okay. Okay, so part 2. Okay, let me say what I think first, and then I want to see what you say, and then also I'm just so curious to see the difference between non-book reader and book reader,
Yeah.
because we have pretty similar tastes in things.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, so Dune Part 2 review and score. Um, I I thought this. So okay, I'll preface by saying this. Um, I love sci-fi. I love political sci-fi. Um, I love movies that aren't CGI fest. I do not mind slow burn. I do not mind weird aspects of movies. I thought this movie was near perfect. I loved every minute of it. It didn't even feel like it was almost 3 hours long. I loved the lore building in this one more than the first one. I loved the characterization build up of Paul and other characters, um, the conflicts between the Freeman and the political aspects they added in this one. I loved everything about. That's not even including just the sound design was awesome. Every little gadget and trinket they used, even when they were using those floating things, and it was
Hmm.
like clicking. Everything sounds so cool, and the visuals. My God, that's probably the best thing about this movie is the visuals. Like,
Yeah.
this guy knows how to film. Like, everything feels so epic.
Yep.
I I loved it. Honestly, like, if I combined part 1 and part 2, this movie, I'll say this movie made me love part 1 even more, and actually made me want to go rewatch part 1 more.
Hmm.
Um, I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. I loved it. I love this lore, and it gets me excited, and I hope they build a whole universe of these movies.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in the same boat. I really loved this movie. And like I said before, this is like right up my alley. It was definitely different than the book, but I think the changes they made make sense and help non-book readers, so I'm okay with them. We'll get more into that. But yeah, I gave this one a 10. I loved it. Um, like you said, the way it was shot was epic. The CG, there obviously has to be CG because there's not like giant worms that we can film, but it didn't
Feel like
it didn't
right?
feel like CG. The way it was shot and the way it looked just felt like perfect for the world.
Like,
And
it all felt real. Like, it felt like I was in that world.
yeah, I agree. And a side note, I'm really glad to hear you call them Freeman, because that's how I read it the entire time. And then I get into the movie and they say
Did people say
Fremen.
Fremen?
Yeah, well, in the
Fremen,
movie
yeah.
they say Fremen, so I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to catch myself a bunch.
I know. But, like, I was watching some reviews too. A lot of people say Freeman.
Okay, good.
So I wonder if it's just preference of how to say it.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah,
I've always said Freeman. I don't know why.
Yeah, I've been itching for a really good sci-fi, and this definitely scratched that itch for sure. It was awesome. Loved it.
We got to get into spoilers though,
Yes.
so we can actually talk, because there's so much.
Spoiler alert for Dune Part 2 and Part 1 we'll probably be referencing.
Yeah, just
But-
all things Dune.
Yep. So if you haven't seen it, we highly recommend it. Go see it, especially if you're into sci-fi. Very good movie. But spoiler alert for Dune Part 2.
Also, we'll mention before we get into the books too, in case you don't want the book spoiled.
Yeah.
Okay, so, man, where do we even start with this?
Yeah, that's so
I guess the direction I feel like is a good place to start.
Yeah.
When they got, what's that planet called where, with that family with the black sun?
Guessthe Prime, the Harkonnen homeworld. Yep.
That was so interesting. And that planet, actually, this Dune in general, this movie is so dark and twisted and weird.
Yeah, it is.
Is that how the book is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like in a good way, not like a bad way.
Yeah, the book is a little worse, probably. But
I've heard.
But yeah, it definitely,
that planet looked cool.
That planet, that's a perfect way to do an alien planet. Like the lighting was so just like weird and off, and it looked so ominous, but so cool and visually interesting.
Yeah, like the fireworks were going off, but it looked all like weird or whatever what stuff was.
Yeah, I loved how their fireworks mimicked their sun. Like it makes sense. Like ours is bright like the sun, and theirs is all dark in the black flashing. And yeah, it looked so cool.
That arena scene was cool, and the weird like the guards and those black suits are weird. It was just such a weird planet.
Yeah. It makes sense that the Harkonnens are from a weird planet because they're weird people.
Yeah, like that. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna ask you questions because I'm just curious about everything, and I'll get your thoughts. So that's the Harkonnens planet. So it's the big dude that used that device to float.
Yep, the Baron.
The Baron. So what did you think of his character, like compared to what your thoughts were while reading it?
Honestly,
like, did it live up?
Yeah, they nailed it. He's as gross as I pictured him. You don't really see the suspensors, but the way he floated around was kind of creepy and weird. And yeah, I feel like they nailed that character. Yeah. Yeah, I thought they nailed that character.
And the two brothers or his nephews, were those good? I thought Austin Butler did great as what's his name?
Feyd-Rautha, yeah.
Yeah, like just psycho.
Honestly, the movie kind of elevated that character for me with his portrayal of Feyd-Rautha.
Really?
I thought that was such a great portrayal. He was so like menacing and creepy, and I did not have that high of hopes. Like after I've only seen Austin Butler in Masters of the Air. I haven't seen the Elvis movie. I didn't like, he's pretty flat in that, kind of cool, calm, collected. Yeah. But man, he can act like a psycho, and he did really well playing Feyd-Rautha. Yeah,
I was surprised by that too.
I was also surprised how much he sounded like the Baron. Like there were some times where I was like, "Wait, was that Feyd?" It sounded just like the Baron.
I was thinking that too. Like you couldn't tell. Like I wonder if did he purposely do that, or did it just naturally sound like that?
I think he must have done that on purpose. I think, and he did a spot on impression. Yeah.
So the whole Harkonnens, Harkonnens, how you say it?
Yep.
So, and then Batista's the other brother, right?
Yeah, Raban.
Is he similar to how you pictured? Like, is that character similar?
Yeah, he's not. I feel like he's featured more heavily in the movie, or you saw him more. But yeah, basically similar. Yeah, just kind of a crazy person who's ruling with an iron fist.
So the Harkonnens. So explain to me. So they're the Great Houses, right? The Harkonnens, and what is Paul's Harkonnens? I say Harkonnens. Harkonnens, and what's Paul's?
The Atreides.
The Atreides. So those are the two main ones in these movies. Is there a third one?
I mean, you see like the Emperor, but I guess he's not a part of the Great Houses. But yeah, those are the two that are focused on. I don't think we really even hear mention of the other ones' names.
No, I mean, they flew in at the end.
Yeah, but you never see them.
We didn't even see them.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing for me as a non-book reader is like, As that twist I didn't see coming of the mom being Barkanen or Harkonnen, sorry,
Yeah.
descendant.
Yeah, that's a
I
pretty
didn't see
big
that coming.
twist. Yep.
I like they got me. I was like, oh, because I had no idea, and I thought that was a good twist too. I'm like, oh, he's
Yeah.
related to that dude.
It
That
is a good twist, and it makes sense because the Bene Gesserit are all about like controlling the genes and trying to find this pure bloodline that can like harness extra power,
Mhm.
and so it makes sense to mix the Harkonnens and the Atreides in a kind of shadowy way.
Yeah, and she's mentioned that she didn't know until she took the worm poison. Was
Yep.
that spoiler for book? Was that in the book too?
Yeah, I'm
Is that
pretty
how it happened?
sure she didn't know, and I think in the book Paul tells her or something. But yeah, that's
Oh,
that's very similar
Paul
to the
finds
book.
out first in the book.
Yeah, I think so. They do a lot of weird timeline stuff where it's just like slightly off. He learns things at different times, and yeah, so
Mm,
it's hard to
I
remember
read
exactly.
somewhere that so one thing I liked in the film is the Fremen, however you want to say it, how they're very divided. Are they that divided in the book
No,
in
that
terms of
was
belief?
the whole like north versus south was made for the movie, I think, to kind of give
I
the
I
audience.
liked that though. Like I thought that's realistic. Did you like that change or no?
I didn't mind that change. I think there were some Fremen who may not have immediately believed Paul was the Lisan Al-Gaib. Overwhelmingly,
But then like, highlight it.
they did seem to believe it. But I think it was a good change to kind of show the audience that, like, yes, there's this kind of story, but it's not all believed by everybody, and yeah, have that kind of
It
tension
felt
there.
it felt more real, to be honest, because it would be that divided, in our world.
Yeah, yeah, that change didn't bother me that much. No.
So the I guess so the movie started kind of where the first one ended, right? It was Paul, not really a Freeman yet, but burying that guy. So that's a
Janus.
question I had for you too. So I was a little confused. So he has visions from the spice, right?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes his visions don't come true. Is that what I was getting at? That guy was supposed to be his mentor, but he ended up having to kill him instead.
The visions are interesting because it's like possible futures, and like in
Okay.
slight spoilers for the book, they don't go too much into this in the movies, but like in his visions he kind of sees the now and the future and the past all at the same time, and what
Mhm.
the stuff that happens impacts the futures he sees. So if he moves a certain way, it'll like narrow and start changing to a certain future. So he sees
Interesting.
like multiple possible futures or even all the possible futures.
Interesting. So then so from the visions he was getting in Dune Part One of that guy being his mentor, that was just a possible future. So when he saw him at the end of the movie, he he didn't want to kill him, right? Because he thought that was gonna be his mentor.
Yeah, and he just had never killed anybody before, and he wanted,
Well, that too,
yeah. But yeah, he
because
probably thought like this
does he
guy's going to be
know?
important to me to learn the culture, and yeah,
So he didn't really understand his vision, so he drank the poison.
yeah, he
It was more
definitely
so
got
glimpses.
more clarity about the visions after he drank the water of life. Yeah,
Okay, because I'm not confused by that, but I was just curious by like that.
there's one thing
One thing I thought was
about his powers that we'll talk
mm,
about in the spoilers that I think is a really interesting difference. So, um,
interesting. Okay. So just movie wise, I'll just say things in non-book radar I liked, and then I'll let you take the floor of what you thought
okay,
fully. Uh, I like the beginning when they showed where they bury the people, and they use like the water as to fill, and they're like, "I'll never drink this, no matter how thirsty I am." Pretty much.
yeah, and Jessica throws
Uh,
up.
yeah, yeah. I thought that was interesting. Um, I also liked the whole first, I guess, third of the movie of Paul kind of learning the ways and him kind of reluctantly not wanting to lead, and him even saying like it's changing from friendships to like praise, pretty much.
Yeah,
I liked his training. I thought it was hilarious. Well, so when Paul Paul's mom, that they basically told Paul's mom, "You're going to be this elder lady or whatever," which I want to ask more about that with you later on. And she reluctantly does it, and that whole storyline was so weird to me. Like, again, when I say weird, I don't mean in like a bad way. I just mean it's so weird. Like, I don't fully understand what's going on with that. Like, she could talk to her baby, and also like she sounds all scary and weird sometimes. Is that actually her, or is she like, does she have the descendant elders in her too?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. So her sounding different is a Bene Gesserit technique called the voice. So that didn't necessarily have to do with her becoming the Reverend Mother. She may have gotten better at it, but that's something they train their whole life.
Oh.
And basically it's like you spend time with someone and then you can attune your voice to them and speak in a way to drive them to do something. So in the book, it seemed more subtle of like getting the pitch right so that you like influence them. But I like how they did it in the movie with that crazy noise of just like, you're gonna do this kind of thing. I thought that was a good change to make it much more impactful.
Okay. That makes sense.
Whereas the Reverend...
Now, what about her talking to the baby?
Yeah, so that's a little more interesting. So when she drinks the water of life, she attunes with the Reverend Mothers and like gets all of their memories. So she gets like all of the past Reverend Mothers. So she gets all this knowledge, all this like she like feels all their feelings of their whole lives and everything. The side effect of her being pregnant when she does that is that the baby gets that too. So
that baby's like super smart too?
Yeah. That baby's like a fully fledged person times however many Reverend Mothers there are.
Well, that's like creepy.
Yeah. They changed some things from the book that they probably needed to, and we'll get more into that. But so that's why she can talk to the fetus, and the fetus can like talk back. In the books, it's more like they're sharing feelings, like the mother like kind of comforts them, and then you can feel the feelings back. But you know, I think it was a good change to make it so that they could talk.
Yeah, because that whole mother storyline was so creepy and weird.
It is definitely weird.
That was the weirdest. That was the weirdest part of the movie for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, and obviously the Harkonnens too are just kind of weird.
Yeah, they're just freaks.
Yeah, literally. So, but anyways, after that happened, and she comes out, and they're the two factions, the North and South Freemen, are going at each other. Paul's like, no, she trained to take poison or whatever. I'm not the Messiah or whatever. It cracked me up because 2 seconds later you see, what's that guy's name? He's like, oh, that's what a true Messiah would say.
I love that. That was Stilgar. I thought he was great. He was a little more comedic effect in this, but I think it worked. Like in the book, he's not so much like that, but I love that line where it's like, oh, the Mahdi is so humble. That's how a Mahdi would be.
My theater was laughing, but like in a good way.
Yeah, I thought he was really funny, and still, I mean, his character still remained pretty much the same besides that. So
really, yeah, because it's like just like such blind followers. Like, oh yeah, that's say all this that. But like at the end, he's right, I guess, or maybe he is.
And that thing you mentioned of where he says like he sees friends turn into religious fanatics, that was pulled basically directly from the book. And I think that line in the book was one of the lines that stuck with me the most. And I'm very glad they put it almost word for word in the movie.
Okay, so they appeased you.
They did.
I like that character, his little trainer buddy. What'd you say his name was again?
Stilgar.
I don't remember. Stilgar. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought his character was great. Like I really enjoyed him. I really enjoyed the Freeman in general. Even Zendaya's character.
Chani.
Is it Chani or Johnny?
It's Chani. I, in my head, pronounced it as Channy. So every time they said it, I was like, who's Johnny? But yeah, it's Chani.
It sounded like they said Johnny, not Chani.
Yeah, it definitely did.
I liked their relationship, and I'm curious if their relationship is similar in the book, but I liked the romance. I thought it was a good, me, sucker for a little bit of romance, but I liked, like, I don't know. I thought they played like they had good chemistry, and I liked their conversations about I'll love you as long as I breathe, and then stuff happens, and even towards the end he says that, and then then all that happens where he's asking for that hand in marriage and this and that. Like he's keeps reiterating to her that like my feelings will never change, but then he's kind of going more and more and more farther over the
Mm-hmm.
rails. So it's like with Chani, like I totally get where she's coming from because I don't know if I'd believe him either with all the stuff he's doing. Like Paul's an interesting protagonist because he's almost like he almost turns into a bad guy, I feel like, in a
Mm-hmm.
way. Like
It's a very
and
gray area, yeah.
yeah, like and like I get like that's why I think Chani's character is so interesting because I feel like she's like us, right? She's like, no, like, dude, chill, dude. Like she's the audience, I feel like. And even the last shot of the movie, it felt like just I don't know, like we're supposed to feel what Chani's feeling. Like I feel like that's the director was trying to do is
Yeah.
like we totally understand like I'm kind of on Chani's side, even though I get what Paul's doing.
Yeah, I agree with you that their chemistry was great and their relationship was really good and well done.
Mhm.
There's definitely I feel like her character is probably the most changed from the book. If I may have to
Really?
think about that.
Interesting. I'm curious. Yeah.
I think we'll get more into that in the spoilers for the
Yeah.
book, but I still don't mind it as much. It definitely was different, and I think I like the character more in the book, but I see why they changed it because of that reaction you had where she's basically in the book. Paul's kind of struggling with that in his own head, but you can't really show that in this
Mhm.
kind of movie because you don't have internal dialogues really. So I feel like they
That's
gave
true.
those parts to Channy to kind of
Mhm.
show that to the audience. So I'm
Which
okay
that
with
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I like as a non-book reader, I thought it was great, and I don't know, I felt like she was like the anchor for him, and he was
Hmm.
slowly getting away from her, even though
Yeah.
he kept reiterating. And maybe like I almost believed him, and I didn't believe him. So I guess what I'm saying is I like the dynamic, and I get where Johnny's coming from and where Paul's coming from, and I think that's good writing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I enjoyed
Yeah.
that. I
Um,
thought their relationship was really well done. It was good in the book and it was good in the movie.
yeah. I liked obviously the worms are awesome. I'm
Oh,
sure
they
reading
looked
the
great.
book. Yeah, like I like the worm writing, and
They
there
did
was a little bit of humor. What's that?
they did the worm writing really well, like from the book. And it's not
Like, is that
even
how you pictured it?
yeah, because they go into the book about how like they lift up the layers and it keeps the worm upright because it doesn't want to get the sand into it to irritate it. And
Mhm,
they showed that, but they
mhm.
didn't have to explain it.
Yes.
Like I thought that was
Yeah.
a really cool nod to the book readers. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, like I'm gonna be curious because when we get into spoilers of the book, I'm gonna want to know are there? You don't say it now. We'll get into spoilers, but are there differences you did not like?
Um, not that I hated. There's some that I am less sure why they did it. Maybe. Um,
Okay.
there's some I get like there's some things you just can't do in live action. I have them all
Yeah.
listed out, so I can kind of talk about the ones I. There's one in particular that comes to my mind that I'm not sure why they changed it, but it might just be runtime, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was already a 3 hour movie
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
So then just a couple more things I'll say, and then I'll let you kind of take over. The whole the one character for me that felt a little out of
Let
place.
me guess. Let me
And then
guess. Let me guess. The
who?
Emperor.
Yes.
Yeah, same. Absolutely same.
Yes. And it's not that I don't like Christopher Walken. Obviously, I like him. It
Yeah.
just felt so out of place for me. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
and
It's not how I pictured him at all. And he, as an emperor of like the entire galaxy, he just didn't seem intimidating, I guess is the right word.
like Christopher Walken almost felt like he did this for the paycheck. Like it didn't even feel like he was
Yeah.
like into
Yeah,
it. Right? Like I don't know, I was watching him and it just felt like bland.
it felt like he was playing himself, kind of, just
Yeah,
himself as an
pretty
emperor.
much.
Yeah. It wasn't
I liked his
horrible.
daughter. No, it wasn't like distracting or anything.
Yeah.
It's just everything else was so like great. That was the one part I'm like, oh, okay, the Emperor could have been more interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, I liked his daughter, and I guess you haven't even read second books and stuff, but I'm curious to see how like where that goes, him and or her and Paul's relationship goes.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling it's gonna be one of those things where I don't know if you know or not, but like I obviously don't know. I one of those things where like they start off hating each other, and maybe they kind of grow respect for each other, and maybe fall in love, and it's a love triangle. I don't know. I'm just like spitballing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll have more to say about that in the spoilers.
Okay. But I liked her character as interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's where like the political side started coming in, and I like that too.
Mhm.
Kind of like that Game of Thrones political fantasy sci-fi kind of sci-fi for this. But I guess the last thing I just want to mention is the just the epicness, dude. Like there's moments where like when Paul's walking up that cliff and
Oh
just that
man.
sea of people down there.
And even the
I
shot
was like, oh my
before he
God.
got there where he's walking through the crowd and it just like zooms from above, that it's just the
Yes.
scale of it is just insane.
Like it felt like I haven't felt this epicness since like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Like in the sense of just epic.
I saw a lot of people comparing it to Lord of the Rings, and I kind of get that. Like, it's this generation's Lord of the Rings with that kind of big shots, epicness. Yeah.
Yeah, just even in the battle. I will say, I wish I saw a little bit more of the battle, but at the same time, like it wasn't really like I feel like this movie wasn't about the battle.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
my thoughts on the battle, I totally get that. That, like, people were hoping for like a Helm's Deep 40-minute long battle. But that's
mm,
not really the point of the movie or the book. Like, it's more about Paul understanding both the tactics of the Harkonnens and the desert, whereas the Harkonnens don't understand the Fremen at all, and they don't
mhm.
understand the desert. So it makes total sense that, Paul, with that knowledge, would be able to just, unite the Freemen and just run them over. It's more about like the
Yeah,
tactics of it.
the tactics of it and like I feel like the politics of it and the
Yeah.
revenge of it. I feel like it. But the little bit we did see of it was freaking epic. Like it
Yeah, I
looked
agree.
awesome. Like
Amazing.
and even the shot of the Emperor's ball ship thing
That
coming
ship
down. And
that ship looked so cool. I really liked that ship.
yeah, and the worms going over that cliff and coming towards the army. Like, dude, it looked like my God, it looked epic. So that the only reason I wish I would have saw more of the battle is just because how epic it freaking looked.
Yeah.
Like,
And the shot of Paul just standing there and the worm cresting in the background. Like, there were so many cool
yes,
shots.
God, I've never like I. It's been a long time since I've seen a movie like so confident in the epicness.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
some movies try to be epic, and it's like okay, but like this movie like actually is epic.
Yeah.
Um, and then the ending was cool. I loved the duel. That duel was freaking awesome. At the end, the ending duel.
Yeah. I loved how the
Um,
music completely cut out. It really like highlighted that as an important
yes,
moment. And it was a really
yeah,
cool
and it
hand-to-hand
felt
fight.
intense. Um, look, this movie made me love. Like I like Dune Part One, but Dune Part Two made me love this universe.
Yeah.
That's all. And
Yeah.
that's where I'll leave it, and I'll kind of let you say your thoughts, and then we can get into spoilers on book comparisons.
I agree that I absolutely love this universe. I want more of it now. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait. We might go read some of the next books. We have the next two. We might wait a little bit to read them, um,
Yeah,
but yeah, this universe is so interesting. The way they did the different planets. I just want to see the other homeworlds of um, the different families and stuff now because
I
I
do
feel like
too.
all of them are going to be interesting. Caladan looked cool. Like Arrakis looks amazing, and then Guessthe Prime especially was just so unique as a planet. Um, and yeah, I honestly can't remember enjoying a movie as much as this. Obviously, we like saw Godzilla minus one or minus
Yeah,
one, and it was amazing. But it's just the scale of this, the epicness, the great world building and the
Yeah.
universe. It just all came together for me. It's so right up my alley. I loved it.
Plus, we're suckers for sci-fi.
Yeah. Yep. Why couldn't the Star Wars movies be like this? The new ones.
Oh, dude. God, could you imagine if there's a Star Wars movie like this? My God. Oh, my Lord, dude. Don't say that. But seriously, could you imagine having a Star Wars movie filmed like this?
If only.
Oh, my God. Anything filmed like this, like, oh, it's so epic. You're right. That was a good way to put it. Like, this is almost like this generation's Lord of the Rings. Like, it's different than Lord of the Rings, I feel like, in the sense of, like, the type
For
of
sure.
movie. But, like, in the epic scale,
Yeah.
oh, like, I can't wait to rewatch. I'm telling you, this one made me want to go back and rewatch part 1.
Yeah. Same.
Anything else you had before book spoilers?
I think that's it. We could probably get into book spoilers now.
Okay, tell me your differences. I want to know. You said you wrote them down.
Yeah, let me just put. I have something up on the screen saying that they're spoilers. So let me add in that we have the book spoilers too.
Yeah, tell me your differences, and then I also want to. Well, I'll let you do the book spoiler thing first.
Okay. So, yes, I have them all written out here. So,
I want you to tell me the differences, and then if you don't hit on anything I have questions on, I want to ask you some questions.
Okay. Sounds good.
Like what you thought.
Maybe we'll do this as 2 different videos, the review and the book differences.
Yeah, that I agree.
Okay, so the first one I have written down is timeline changes. And it starts basically right at the beginning of the movie. So in the book, after Paul kills Jamis, and before he like spends all the time with the Fremen and like does his worm riding, there's a 2-year gap in the book. And in that 2-year gap, Paul has a child with Chani. And Jessica and Jessica gives birth to her baby, Aaliyah.
Also, the baby's born in the book.
And if you remember what I told you about how this is a baby who has the full experience of possibly thousands of Reverend Mothers, it's pretty freaky sounding, and I totally understand why they wouldn't eventually have wouldn't want to have a 2-year-old running around doing the stuff she does in the book. So I think
does she like age faster, or it's just age the same, just has the knowledge?
She ages the same and just has the knowledge, and all the Fremen are like, man, this baby's such a freak. She's so weird.
Does she like talk and everything right when she's born?
Yep. I don't know if about basically shortly after she's born, if not right away, because they're like, they get weirded out because she says things that only an adult would know, and she like jokes around, and it sounds very weird, and like it wouldn't work on screen. So I totally understand why they had to change the timeline for that. But a side effect of that is that Paul doesn't have a son with Chani, and I feel like that in the book really cements their relationship.
Wait, Paul
and Chani have a son, and they name him Leto.
They have a son in the book.
Yes, and actually,
wow, so this goes completely different direction.
Yeah, that changed a lot of how the relationship felt, I feel like, for me. They still did it well with what they had, but a bigger.
She'll be pregnant, you think? In the movie, she doesn't know yet.
I don't think so, because the next change, obviously, because of that, this couldn't happen. But when the Harkonnens, or maybe it was the Sardaukar, bomb Siege Tabor, they end up killing Leto, the son. And that's the moment in the book where Paul is like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm gonna be the leader. And they don't know the meaning of revenge, basically. I think that's exactly what he says. So
so they changed it from interesting.
Yeah, so that's really I think right after that he takes the water and then takes up the mantle of like.
So that's what put him over the edge, to take the water.
Yep.
So instead of reluctantly going to do it in the movie, he had a motive
Yeah, he had a big
in the
motive.
book. A big motive, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
so
wonder why they didn't go that direction of
I
them having a kid.
I honestly think
Is it
it's
because of the time?
yeah, I think it's just because they didn't want to have Aaliyah running around. So the reason so in the book, Aaliyah is the one who kills the Baron. She in that when they get bombed, she gets taken by the Emperor. Well, she's like, I just let you take me. She's like super sassy to the Emperor. It's really funny. But she gets taken by the Emperor, and then she's the one. She pulls out the Gom Jabbar, the needle thing, and stabs the Baron and ends up killing him. And then she runs around and just starts stabbing all the dying Harkonnens. And I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't really work in the movie.
See, I like how Paul killed the Baron, though.
Yeah, I liked that change too. It was very like cathartic and like, oh yeah, he got revenge.
Satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing I forgot to mention too, real quick, because I loved the like his father still like the presence of his father like was still in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a sense of like like everyone knows he's a good man. That's why he needs to be taken out. Like he was almost like the what's his face in Game of Thrones, Ned.
Oh yeah.
Like in the sense of just
True.
he's a good guy.
True. Yeah, he's honestly Duke Leto is probably the most sane person in this. I don't know.
One thing I forgot to ask you too: the guy who the guy that comes back, Paul, is he a big part of the book too? I liked him in the movie.
He is, yeah. Why can't I think of his name? But yeah, he is a big part of the book. And actually in the book, that's another change we could talk about. He thinks that the reason the Harkonnens were able to do that, he thinks, so Yue was the actual traitor, but he thinks it was Jessica. So when they first meet, he tries to kill Jessica, and they have to like talk him down from it and tell him who actually betrayed them. So that's a different change too. But yeah, he's a big part for sure.
I liked him, like in that big speech that Paul was doing, like that Chani like was gonna do something. He's like, no, sit down. You're not gonna do anything good here. And like the second Paul mentioned, he's doing it for his father. Like, I'm not hiding anymore. You could see how proud he was. Like, I felt like he was super loyal to his father.
Yeah, and that's similar.
Yeah, I like that.
Gurney.
But anyways,
Gurney Halleck. That's his name.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yep. So yeah, that's the big timeline changes they had to make so that they didn't have a 2-year-old running around committing genocide.
Yeah, so it was like 9 months time or 8 months instead of 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The second one we kind of talked about a little bit was the like north versus south. In the book, there's not really that divide. A lot more people seem to like believe in the Lisan Al-Gaib. Maybe not believe that Paul was it, but they still believed in that prophecy.
Yeah. And
Chani never really doubts him in the book like she does in the movie. But like we said earlier, I think that's more because it was Paul seeing this like jihad that he unleashes and really struggling with how to not make that happen, and in an internal monologue. But they needed someone to be that foil to him, so they gave that to Chani, and that works. I think that worked fine.
Yeah. I liked it.
The biggest difference from that, though, I think, is the ending. And the ending of the movie where she goes off and seems to like kind of reject Paul or not really trust him. In the book, it's not like that. I don't know. That could be pulled from the next book. I haven't read the next book. But in the book, it really ends with that happening and then her being kind of offended and then Jessica being like, you obviously don't know my son. Irulin will never have his love. His love's only for you. And, she'll be with him in the meetings and stuff, but us concubines are the real loves or something like that. Yeah. So, so that was definitely different. And that's why I kind of like.
How do you feel about that difference?
I definitely like their relationship more in the book. I still think they did a good job of showing it, but her being more antagonistic to like have that pushback. It makes sense that they had to do it. It's definitely, it wasn't my favorite part of the movie.
Paul's brain.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite part, but I understand it. So
yeah, okay.
The next big difference is Jessica. In the book, after he becomes the Kwisatz Haderach and drinks the water of life, she apologizes to him for how she raised him, and she realized it like it's not fair, to like raise him up to be this figurehead. This,
I would have liked that.
Yeah, and so it felt like it kind of reconciled their relationship a little bit, where in this it's like she's still pulling the strings, still like the reason this happened, whereas in the book the reason it happened is because his son died, really. But so
I will say this, in the movie, she the mother's kind of not likable, Jessica.
Yeah, and in the book for the most part she's not, like, you can tell she's a Bene Gesserit. She's like indoctrinated into this way of thinking. But she does get her redemption in the book, which I didn't really feel like she had a redemption here.
I feel like that would have added to this, like it would have made me understand a little bit more. But okay.
And I feel like it might change things moving forward. I don't know how it moves forward in the book, but I feel like it'll be different. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
The next change is they did not have Thufir Hawat. If you remember in part 1, he's the bigger guy who, like, his eyes like go white when he's a mentat, so he's like processing information.
That's right. He's like the human computer, like, since they don't use computers.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not in this at all. In the book, he has a part where he's being used by the Harkonnens and he's poisoned, and if he ever leaves, he dies. And
that's right. He wasn't in this one at all.
Yeah, they just never had any scenes with him. So that's the one I think it's a weird change, but it's probably just runtime related, honestly. So I didn't love that because I like that character, but you know, whatever. And then 2 more. Actually, we talked about one of them. The last one I had was Paul killing the Baron versus Aaliyah. And we said, I liked that. It was definitely like a good feeling when he finally got his revenge.
Yep.
And the line he says, "You die like an animal." That was a cold line.
You die like an animal. That I like that line too.
Yeah. And then possibly the last thing is the atomics. So in the books, it's not that Paul has a bunch of like atomics that he could use to blow up all the spice. He actually learns more about the worms and how they like die in water, or like, and that's how the spice is made. So he like threatens them by saying that he'll kill all the worms basically and have all the spice removed. It goes real in depth about how it works. Like there's a bunch of water under the earth and he can like, he knows a way to basically like unleash that on the worms and kill them all. So he holds that over their head instead of just being like, I have a bunch of nukes and I'm going to blow it up if you don't do,
Why do you think they changed that? Just for simplicity?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's the main reason. It's a lot easier to explain, we're going to blow up the stuff you want, rather than, oh, there's this natural process where the worms do this to make the spice, but I can do this to kill them. Honestly, I don't even remember exactly how it goes because it is very in-depth.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that change too. At first I was confused. I was like, oh, they're just going to bomb it? But, it's fine. I didn't have a problem with that.
Interesting.
And I felt like there was one more thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't have written down, but now I can't think of it. So, you can go ahead, and if it comes to me, I'll bring it up.
Okay. So basically, so was Paul how you pictured Paul? Like, did I forgot the actor's name?
Timothy Chalamet.
Wonka too. And I just watched Wonka too, and
that's
Wonka, and this is funny.
That is funny.
But how do you think he did as Paul?
He nailed it. I thought he was a perfect
Really?
Paul, and I thought that rise from like reluctant leader to religious figurehead and his change in that was perfect. Like he was kind of more
It felt
reserved.
real.
Yeah, he felt competent, but he also felt like
Mm,
reserved and not like he didn't want to take
mhm.
charge. He was kind of scared of unleashing this jihad. But then when he had that water of life, the change like that was perfect. So well done.
It was okay because I really liked. I thought the director and the writer it did it perfect because I don't know the character because I haven't read the book, but the character just it didn't feel like it felt authentic, like in his character. Like I understood
Yeah,
and the
it didn't feel
change
forced.
before it didn't feel forced, and the actor, would you say Timothy?
Chalamet, yeah.
Like, yeah, he did so good at being the reserved, like you kind of just said, the reserved kind of character, but he has the strength to do what he needs to do. Like I felt like he did as a non-book reader, I felt like he did perfect as the character in the sense of I believed him in every point of the movie where he was acting,
Yeah.
whether it was after the poison or before.
Yep. I agree.
Uh, what about? Oh, so we already talked about Baron
There's a few
and
other
Elvis.
characters that didn't make it in the movie. There's this one
Mhm,
who was like a Kwisatz Haderach who couldn't take up the mantle because he's a eunuch, a genetic eunuch. Um,
mhm.
his wife is actually in the movie. She's the one that seduces Fade Routha. Um,
Oh, yep.
Count Fenring is his name. But I mean, he's not super important.
Wait,
Oh,
the one who seduces Elvis guy?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was another question. So did like did he impregnate her? Is that what I got from that?
Yeah, yeah. And in the book it's much more vague. She kind of hints that she wants to or is open to that, and
Mhm,
then it kind of goes away and we don't see anymore. But I kind of like that change too, because the Bene Gesserit again are all about bloodlines and trying to create this Kwisatz Haderach, and they're being
mhm,
like Paul is there, who's like gonna destroy all of that. He's not the one that they want to be the
mhm,
Kwisatz Haderach, so they're trying to make their own basically. And Fade Routh is too crazy, and so
mhm.
her with her Bene Gesserit genes getting his genes, and they're trying. I think I don't know for sure, but I think they're trying to make their own Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah. Dang, so she actually did it with that crazy dude?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, and
All
this
for
is
the
I remember the other thing I wanted to talk about. It's not
oh,
really a
definitely.
change. They just don't really go into it that much. Um, but the Kwisatz Haderach is a male that can drink the water of life. And the reason that's
Mhm,
so important is because when you drink the water of life, you can like look inward at yourself, but
mhm,
there's a part of you that you can't really look at. And there's like two halves. So the females can look at one half and the males can look at the other. Um, and when you drink the water of life, I think it focuses on the half that the females can look at. But the Kwisatz
mhm,
Haderach can go into themselves and look at both and really understand their true nature. And like,
mm,
so it has a lot of themes of like feminine versus masculine. And they didn't really go too much into
mhm.
that, but I think that's really interesting. And I don't know.
So
I want to
what
learn
what
more about
makes
that.
what makes the what do you call it, the Messiah, or what's the main word for it?
Kwisatz Haderach.
What makes them be able to see both sides? Like, is that rare?
Yeah,
Obviously.
it's what the genetic like the it's what the Bene Gesserit are trying to get when they're mixing different genes is
So
to
has it
get
happened before?
no, I don't
So
think
it's
so.
never happened.
Yeah,
So
and
is
it
Paul the
has
first
to
one?
be a man, and then that man has to be able to basically become a Reverend Mother. And there's one point in the book where Paul gets really upset at his mother, and I think it's the time around the time where she starts, feeling bad about it, where
Mhm.
he brings it up and he's like, "There's that part of you can't look at." Well, I looked at it and I know our true nature or something, and it's like really intense, and he's like screaming at her, and
Mm,
it, yeah, that would have been cool to see, but also it's a little too like I don't know how you put it on screen, honestly.
Yeah.
So I get why they didn't do that.
Seeing these movies and talking about this, how does your wife like this book?
She loved it.
Doesn't she not? I know, but like, she couldn't watch these movies, could she?
No way. She can handle stuff
It's
read
like
a lot better.
It's a dark series.
Yeah, it's because the visuals, I think, are what get to her the most.
The visuals and the music and all that.
Yeah. So
yeah. So yeah, she didn't watch these.
No, she did not.
And you don't think she would like them, or is it too weird and scary?
I think maybe eventually I might have her watch part 1, but I think Fade Rautha is too crazy in part 2. I don't know.
yeah. Part 2 definitely is. Like, there were some moments where I was like, "What?" Even like the moments with the Baron and the girls kind of getting scared and get like he'll randomly kill her or hear screams before Dave Bautista's character goes in there. I'm like, it's kind of dark.
That's one thing in the book. The Baron he has a proclivity for young boys, and he even makes a comment about Paul that's really creepy, and Fade, actually. That Fade is like Paul and he likes it, and he's a weirdo.
Well, he does do that kiss with his nephew, which I read that was improvised by the actors.
Wow, that's funny.
That's
Austin totally in character.
Austin Butler did it. He's like, I knew he'd be game for it, and so like he did it because I think he read the book or something. And
okay, yeah, that's definitely in character for the Baron. And they leave it kind of vague. Those like kind of younger looking people in his room, but I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be young boys, and it's pretty creepy.
Okay, they left it vague. I couldn't. They were bald, so I couldn't tell anything. It was dark.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to do. So, have you read stuff about stuff in the future books?
A little bit, and it seems pretty weird.
It's like what have you read? Spoilers for future books.
Spoilers for future books. So I read the next book is kind of still about Paul, but then after that, it goes into like his sons or even further on down the line, and eventually there's like a worm human god king emperor thing. I don't know. It sounds really weird.
Yeah, I read like books 4 through 6 are wild. Like people are saying there's no way they could put those on a movie. Yeah,
and I think the author died and then his son took it up and it really started to like fall off. I don't know when that happens, but
because book, I think 2 and 3 I read. This is just me like reading people's thoughts. I heard those people really like those ones.
Yeah, I've heard some people really like 4 also, but then it starts to fall off.
Yeah, well, 4 to, but from what I heard, is 4 is when it starts getting like weird, and like you can't put that stuff on screen.
Yeah, the next few books are actually a lot smaller too. Like, really? This first one was like 800 pages. The second one's like 600, and then it's like 400 for the third book or something.
Interesting. Now, tell me this though. So the book, how is the book? Because I've heard it could be a complicated read or a boring read, or not for everyone kind of read.
It took us 2 tries to get into it because the first half of the book is slow and has a lot of new words. Like, I read it out loud and my wife listened, and trying to figure out how to pronounce some of those was a struggle. Yeah, it's
I've heard people can't get into the book.
It's hard to get into, but once you do, it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Now, do you think watching the movie and then reading it will get you a little easier to get into the book?
It'll definitely ease you into it, yeah. It still might be a little bit of a slog because, like, the first 300 pages, nothing much happens. It's just like them on Caladan, him having the test, going to Arrakis, and just kind of being in the house, getting attacked, which is, kind of exciting. And then up until the betrayal, it's just kind of like politics. I still enjoyed it. Like, I didn't put it down. But yeah, I could see people struggling with that part.
Yeah. Interesting.
But then once the attack happens and he's on Arrakis and learning stuff, it definitely picks up.
It picks up, yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, that's interesting. I was very curious about the differences.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's all I got, man. I loved the movie. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I love that I have a new universe to get immersed in. It's so much
Oh,
fun.
for sure. Same here. And I feel like I said, I feel like Dune Part 1, like I said, I liked it, but I feel like Part 2 is what's going to get everyone into the universe.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even watch part 1 until the day before I watched part 2, so
Yeah,
um
that's true.
I'm very glad though that I did because I enjoyed it immensely.
You'll have to let me know if you start reading the second one eventually.
Yeah, I will.
Or maybe you'll watch it right before the second movie comes out.
I might wait and read it right before.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, well, that's all I got.
All right. Definitely go see it. Highly recommend.
Yes.
Okay. So, do we want to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, we could do like a quick thing.
So you just played the remake, the first one,
I
for the first
I
time, right?
just finished, yeah.
Or
Well, I
finished
had
it for the
started
first
it when
time?
it first came out, yeah, and I
Yeah.
got like 4 or 5 chapters in. But yeah, I just fully finished it for the first time this morning actually.
Nice.
And no, I overall I liked the game. I will say think it I think the pacing was a little off.
Yeah.
It felt some chapters like I know some people liked it, but chapter 17, by God, I hated that chapter.
Which one was that? What did
You,
you have to do in that one? It's been a
you
while
had
since I
to,
played it.
so yeah, yeah. Well, that was the one with all the freaking bosses, which I didn't mind that, but it was like for the first half of it, for like an hour, you're like you're switching between two parties, and like one has to open the door, and another has to.
Okay.
Uh, it's in that big circle thing where like
Yeah,
Cloud and Red have to go through the switches, and you switch over to
I do
uh,
remember that.
Tifa and her, and then you have to use the little phone things, and you go back to them and back and forth. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
for like the second to last chapter, I am bored.
Yeah. I feel
Uh,
like they had to
like
pad it out with extra stuff that wasn't really in the original, and that kind of slowed it down a little bit.
I mean, I definitely feel it because I will like I do the game. To be honest, could have been 5 to 10 hours shorter.
Yeah.
But overall, like I enjoyed it. Like the story beats were awesome. I love the characters. I love the story. Uh, I still loved the game. I just felt the time, the length.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
really liked the original remake. There were definitely some changes. Um, you spent what did you think about Jesse's death?
um,
Because
I don't know.
and the reason why I ask that is in the original game you do not spend that much time with her and you do not learn that much about her, but in the remake you really do. And I feel like they were trying to really give you a emotional moment there where she
Yeah,
dies.
I felt bad because because even she said, I wish we could go to my mom's and have that pizza or something like that.
Yeah.
And I did feel bad because then I was like, after she died, I'm like, oh, I saw her mom's house and her dad.
Yeah.
uh, that was sad. And then I don't remember. Did What's the other guy's name? I can't remember his name.
I
The
forget
guy
his
with the
name
red
too.
bandana.
Yeah.
Biggs? Is that it? No.
Yeah, because they're named Wedge and Biggs after Star Wars. Yep.
Did he live or not? I thought I saw a glimpse of him like laying in a bed. No, or am I thinking of someone else?
He might live. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know in the original if it's ever said if he lives, but he might in the remake.
I don't remember. But the final chapter, like fighting Sephiroth, all that was epic. I mean, I loved the actual ending.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was definitely different than the original, but I see why they had to do it, and it was a cool fight.
well,
So
they needed something
yeah, for
because
sure.
I mean, even I remember like getting out of Midgar in the original game.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like anything that crazy. I mean, it was, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Not like the remake. Yeah,
no, no. But I will say though, like, so I started Rebirth. This like I've only played a couple hours or like an hour or two, and first and foremost, you know what it made me realize?
Hmm.
It made me realize I missed like environments in Final Fantasy, like outdoors, like not
Yeah.
just in the city.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is definitely very, very heavily different in this one. Not just being stuck in
yeah,
Midgar the whole time. Yeah.
like even playing the first hour, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm like in the woods, I'm in the desert, I'm
Yep.
fighting animals. Like it feels open. Like I, I missed that side. But anyways, what I was gonna say is starting Rebirth, like it's kind of I don't know, it feels kind of cool because if they're making like Final Fantasy VII like its own like universe, kind of like because I think they're
Yeah.
making a third game in it too.
I believe it. There's a lot of story left.
So like I kind of like how like like I'm visiting a little bit of spoilers for the first hour of the game. You know, you're visiting your hometown and
Nibelheim.
you're seeing yeah, you're seeing like the history in Tifa's house and Sephiroth. And having played 30 hours of Final Fantasy Remake, like this stuff I'm getting to now, it feels more impactful. Like, oh, I'm finally getting like the history of Tifa. Like I care about her. I just went through hell with her.
Yep.
And now seeing Sephiroth, like going back and seeing Sephiroth as like a hero almost.
He
Like
was.
after fighting, yeah, like after fighting him in the previous game, it's making this game already feel heavier, and I'm only an hour or two in.
Yeah, I loved the start of this game. So I'm on chapter 2 right now, but I was really excited for the Nibelheim sequence, and I think that's a perfect start to this
Mhm.
game.
Yeah, I remember that from the original game too.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And then after that, just not really spoilers, but the game really opens up, and I'm really excited to see how the more open Final Fantasy VII is going to be. Because I haven't gotten too far into chapter 2, but
Mhm.
it
I'm
seems
excited
really
for that
cool. Yeah,
because as much as I love part like the Final Fantasy VII remake, it wasn't really open world, right? It was a contained story for the
yeah,
most part.
yeah. And this feels way more open world.
This is something small, but it's just something I noticed because I just finished playing the first game. I love the little mini maps so much better in this game than Final Fantasy
Yeah,
remake.
the mini map is better for sure.
Yeah, just little things.
Yep.
Uh, but overall, like I think I'm gonna really like this one. If it does it right, I think I could like it more than remake.
I think so far
I
I will
just
too. I like there's like crafting, there's like um objectives on the map that just seem to open it up more, and it just seems like so much more to
mhm.
do, so much less linear. So I think I'm gonna like that a
I
lot.
can't wait to see the flying saucer.
Yeah, I know. That's gonna be
That
cool. That's gonna look
will be in
awesome.
this one, right?
Huh?
That will be in this one, right? It's not too much farther.
Yeah, it should be in this one.
Yeah,
I would think so.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know why, but that part was just so memorable to me in the game. I think the way it looks. I think you're right.
I have an idea of where they're gonna end it, so but I don't want to say it in case it's spoilers, so
Yeah, I'm excited to play it, man. I, I love it, and the having kind of like you would do, and having just finished part
right.
one remake. Uh, I don't know,
Rolling
dude.
right into it.
Yeah, it just feels. I get why. I because I was reading some people like, oh, the first game's so padded, yada yada yada, but it built up the characters so well. Like going into this game, like I feel so connected to to Tifa, to
Yeah.
Aerith, to Barrett, to even to Red, and I didn't even see him till the last two chapters of the game.
Yeah, they do a really good job of that, like having those character moments.
Yeah, so like, and even Sephiroth, like seeing him, like I mentioned earlier, seeing him that crazy, and then kind of starting this game off as like he's almost like your mentor in a sense, like
Yep. Great start.
I don't know, having
Great place to start.
great start of the game, and the first game, I feel like for me, it just heightened it for me in the sense of like, if I didn't play the first game, and then or if they like sped through Midgard, I guess I'm trying to say, I feel like. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It just feels a little more impactful since we spent so much time with them in Midgard
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. It feels like the
instead of.
first one was kind of like they were trying some new things for this new version of Final Fantasy VII, and now they get to really refine it and add on things. And
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will say the combat, especially once it clicked for me. I was like, at first I was just using Cloud, but then I realized like if you like actually cycle through the characters, you could freaking beast mode it.
Yeah. I love
Like
playing
in
as
like
Tifa
in
the
boss
most.
battles.
Yeah, the boss battles
I
are
like playing as
awesome.
Aerith the most, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, she's a little too stationary for me.
Yeah, I could see that. I made her like a freaking powerful wizard, dude. Like she was so strong.
That's cool.
And she could heal me like almost half.
Yeah, that's what I use Aerith for. Yeah.
Yeah. Barrett was good for like if I had annoying flying enemies, I would use him.
He's really good for that.
The combat, dude, is it just me or do a lot of people like this combat? Because I thought the combat was amazing.
I like the combat. I've seen some people, I mean, there's always going to be people that, you know, want the original combat. And I saw they have, I think even in the first one, they had it where you could just...
the classic mode,
the classic. I haven't tried it, though, so I don't know how that translates.
I don't know. I think the combat's all. You feel free in a sense, but you also need to like strategize a little bit because you could easily get pummeled if you don't.
Yeah.
And you know what I've realized is potions are freaking useless unless you have a mega potion.
Yeah.
You might as well just have heal on everybody.
Yeah, and ethers.
Like, use a potion. And ethers because like potions. Like I had almost like 80 potions available by the end of the game because. It was pointless to use it because by the time I use it, it's like I'm going to get hit and it'll waste more than it filled up.
Yeah.
So in this game, I'm just going to sell the freaking potions and I'm just keeping the great potions or whatever they're called.
You might be able to break them down into components. I can't remember.
In this one?
In this one.
If that's true, that'd be awesome because I'm telling you, it just sat in my inventory in the last game.
I don't know.
I guess I could have sold them. I don't know why I didn't, but
yeah. I have a question for you. Yeah, since you talked about seeing like Tifa's house and stuff, did you look in her closet?
I didn't. I said it was a joke.
Same.
Did you?
I said it was a joke. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, Tifa, I can't do this. I love the beginning how they're kind of telling it as a story. Like, you went in my room. Yes. You look like the first thing I did. You look in the closet.
No, that was a joke.
Yeah, I thought, or even the part where Sephiroth was explaining, "Oh, my mother," and it like paused, like, "Wait, that's the name from the
Genova."
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is good already.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited to play it more.
Play through it, yeah. Because I got to beat this one because Dragon's Dogma 2 is next. So
that's true. When does that come out?
That comes out later this month.
Dragon's Dogma 2.
So whenever we beat this game, I'll buy it.
Yep, March 22nd. Okay, that's enough time.
Yeah, I think so. Because I'm telling you now, with that game and this game, you're not going to be able to play both. I'm not going to, I should say.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to. It'll screw up the controls.
That game's like one of those games where you like, it's going to take your time, you know?
Yeah.
So, in a good way, but... So I'm going to go through this, and then I'll get that. And then I'm flying out to California for work in April, so I'll need to find a Switch game. Maybe I'll get Mario RPG for that, actually.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. That's a fun one.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of all I've been playing and stuff. So that's all I got for this week.
Yeah, me too. I'm just so happy with Dune. I want to see it again.
I know, I do too. I want to rewatch part 1 and everything and read into the lore. I actually did watch some YouTube videos of like the lore.
Nice, yeah.
And it was interesting just to understand it a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of lore. Yeah.
But no, everything we've watched this week, for the most part, was pretty solid.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm content. So I missed going to the movies too. Like I went to the movie and I'm like, oh, I missed this.
Yeah, it was packed. I went to Cine Capri and it was full.
That's a good theater to see it in.
Yeah, it was a really good theater to see it in.
Yeah, my theater was packed too. It was full. It's been a while since I've been to a packed theater.
Yeah, same.
Because even Godzilla, it wasn't packed.
Yeah.
But anywho, alrighty. Yep, that's all I got this week. And maybe we'll have a Dune quiz next week.
Maybe. We could probably do that.
Sweet.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this VGA podcast, episode 25, and we will talk to you next week.